in the dialogue. Again, I think Putin, as you suggested, is buying time to continue the campaign to grind down the Ukrainian army and take more territories. So yes, it's going to be the first meetings are going to be indicative of what happens, and it'll be curious to see after that if there is a sense that there will be enough for a second meeting. And it comes down to also the cordiality and the actual mechanics of the meeting.
Well, let's talk to Brigadier General Peter Zwack, who served as military attache to the U.S. Embassy in Moscow during the Obama administration. Good evening to you, Brigadier General.
Yes, and good evening to you and our great UK allies.
Well, it's good to have you with us. We were hearing a little bit about how President Trump might approach this. His language in the run-up to his meeting with President Putin has been pretty tough, saying that there'd be serious consequences if he didn't agree to a ceasefire. How do you think President Putin's going to be approaching this meeting on Friday?
My instinct that President Putin will start with some thoughts and beliefs, but what he wants to do is he wants to hear President Trump talk, and ideally get us off our scripted talking points. And then it is completely free skating. I think that the discussion, as it's going to be of some duration and face to face. They do have, and though Trump has lately stated that he believes he's been played a little bit by Putin. We'll go in a little bit careful this time, but ultimately wants to make the deal.
So just to pick you up on that, because President Zelenskyy today said that he thought that President Putin was bluffing and that he wasn't even really serious about wanting peace, particularly as Russian forces are continuing their bombardment of Ukraine's towns and cities.
I think that is a good thought. The momentum on the battlefield right now is Putin's, though hard fought, and that the longer the fighting goes, the Russians will be able to continue to get incremental gains into the territories that they claim are theirs, which in theory enhances their negotiation status. I think that's I think very true. I think in this sense we've all been strung along, and I think the last thing they want is a ceasefire and a peace that would also bring in with international observers and peacekeepers, if you will. That really starts to solidify the line. The Ukrainians don't want that either, because they see any deal resulting in a line of demarcation, however we define it, is a line to be broken ultimately by the Russians, and is a line that will lead to another, in a longer extension, a so-called frozen conflict that we've all experienced.
Yeah, because Russia already controls some almost a fifth of Ukraine's territory. Do you think that when President Putin meets President Trump, we heard the US leader saying that he hoped this would lead pretty swiftly to another meeting between President Zelenskyy and President Putin, which presumably could start to talk seriously about some of the issues here. Are we really going to get to that stage? Can you visualize that happening?
I'm probably not going to go with the party line on that. My instinct at looking at the personalities, there is no one that Putin would rather not talk to face than Volodymyr Zelenskyy. I think in part he looks down on Zelenskyy. He doesn't see Zelenskyy as a real leader, as he doesn't see Ukraine as a real country. And somehow talking to Zelenskyy would demean himself as Putin. That's just sort of watching this over the years. I don't think they would talk one-on-one.
So if these two wouldn't be prepared to talk to one another, I mean, do you think that this, for all the optimism we've heard today, do you think that this meeting between President Trump and President Putin could lead to even to serious negotiations about Ukraine's future, which of course would have to involve President Zelenskyy?
Well, I think we have nothing left but to be optimistic and wish it along, wish the right circumstances occur, the right things are said. My president is careful and direct, and Putin isn't trying to slither one way or the other in the dialogue. Again, I think Putin, as you suggested, is buying time to continue the campaign to grind down the Ukrainian army and take more territories. So yes, it's going to be the first meetings are going to be indicative of what happens, and it'll be curious to see after that if there is a sense that there will be enough for a second meeting. And it comes down to also the cordiality and the actual mechanics of the meeting.
Well, now, just briefly, what do you think the chemistry is going to be like between President Trump and President Putin?
I think that the chemistry will be Trump will be a little bit more guarded, but he on a seemingly human functional level appears to like Putin. And Putin probably knows that as the longtime FSB KGB operative, and he will work that. I mean, even Trump said not long ago that all Putin does is say nice things to me, and then we get the opposite. So your questions are really the first hours are going to be, morbidly fascinating in how this does go. And the question is Trump now aware that Putin may try to play the siren's song with him again, and then Trump doesn't bite on it this time.
Brigadier General Peter Zwack, really good to speak to you. Thank you very much indeed for joining us.
Thank you for having me, always.